What if I told you there was a Guns N' Roses song from Chinese Democracy that most fans have never heard and officially may never hear? Today we're talking about Going Down, one of the most mysterious unreleased tracks from the Chinese Democracy sessions. Here's why it matters. Because Izzy Stradlin never left Guns N' Roses. He just changed his name to Tommy Stinson. This is the story of Going Down. Hi, welcome to the AV room. This is a different one for today. This is something that kind of speaks to me. Guys in my age bracket, 55-ish, that grew up listening to Guns N' Roses. My entire life changed when this album came out. This was all I listened to. And when we heard Use Your Illusions were being recorded, many of us reached out and found bootlegs. Then the albums came out and blew our minds. And then we heard the band was breaking up, only they didn't. They came back as Guns N' Roses 2008. And it took years to make this album Chinese Democracy. Many of you wrote it off as an Axl Rose solo project. It's not. It's more than that. It's a new incarnation of Guns N' Roses. And if you give it a chance, you'll really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite albums. And I don't care what you think, and I don't care what you say. But what if I told you there was a song from those sessions for Chinese Democracy that you may have never heard? Many of you didn't even know it existed. I'm talking about Tommy Stinson and Going Down. When Chinese Democracy was finally released in 2008, it marked the end of one of the longest, most expensive recording processes in rock history. What many fans don't realize is that the album only represents a small portion of what was actually recorded. Dozens of songs were tracked during the 90s and the early 2000s, and Going Down is one of the most talked about tracks that never made the cut. To understand Going Down, you have to understand Tommy Stinson. Tommy joined Guns N' Roses in 1998 during the rebuilding phase of the band and replaced Duff McKagan on bass. But Tommy wasn't just a hired gun. He was already a respected songwriter and musician, best known as a founding member of The Replacements, one of the most influential alternative rock bands of the 1980s. Tommy remained in Guns N' Roses until 2014, making him the longest serving member of the band outside Axl Rose himself, and was often referred to as the General because he led the band when Axl wasn't there. Now, when Chinese Democracy finally arrived in 2008, it was a result of a decade of recording. It had rotating band members, endless studio experiments, and millions of dollars spent. But when we got the album, and what we got on the album was only a fraction of what was actually recorded. Axl Rose has himself confirmed over the years that dozens of tracks were recorded during those sessions, and Going Down was one of the most talked about. Now, I've been looking for these tracks forever. When I first heard about the locker leaks, many fans went searching for these rare tracks, and it was only upon recently that I found all of them. Yep, all of them. Now, you have to go in some weird places and some iffy situations to record these or find them on the internet, but I assure you, they are out there. All the tracks, guitar parts, drum parts, re-recorded drum parts, both from Josh Freese and from Brain. We've got songs with Brian May, like Catcher in the Rye doing the guitar part. We've got Buckethead solo experiments. We've got Brain remixes. If the album had been successful, there were plans to release a remix album. They're out there. Now, Going Down is one of the coolest songs on there. And everybody was bummed when Izzy Stradlin had left the original lineup for Guns N' Roses. But when the new lineup happened, one of the members was Tommy Stinson. Yep, Tommy Stinson of the Replacements. Now, when the Replacements broke up, Tommy did some solo projects, many of which included the Bash and Pop albums. I got to see Tommy on several Bash and Pop album tours, and those Bash and Pop albums are underrated gems. So I was eager when I got a chance to talk to Tommy in Detroit at a concert at Smalls in Hamtramck. I asked Tommy back then how the recordings were going, and he said they were going fantastic, and he didn't care if they took forever. He told me at the time that they were actually able to record several albums of his solo material from getting paid for those Guns N' Roses sessions and being a member of the band. Now, many of the members in the band looked to him as the band leader. Buckethead, Bumblefoot, many of them have said, Robin Fink from Nine Inch Nails have said that Tommy was the band leader of this band. So when I found these bootlegs, when I found these leaked locker room session tapes, several of them had several versions, several versions of this song, Going Down. Now, Going Down was recorded during the mid to late Chinese Democracy sessions, likely in the early 2000s. The track features Tommy Stinson on lead vocals. However, there are other versions with Bumblefoot doing guitar parts and Axl Rose singing backup. I was able to find 4 different versions of this song. Fans have actually combined all the versions, and you can find them if you look for them. Now, that alone makes it fascinating. And stylistically, fans who have heard snippets or descriptions suggest it's more of a punk rock influenced hard rock vibe. It's closer to the classic Guns N' Roses energy than the industrial and orchestral electronic tones that we finally got on this album, Chinese Democracy. Now, some of these tracks have been released that were recorded during these sessions that didn't make it on this album. And those are what's being released now as the new Guns N' Roses tracks with new parts from Duff and Slash. But why was it never released, Going Down? Now, when I found these tracks from Chinese Democracy, as you can see here, there are a lot. Reportedly, over 19, I've heard 20, 25 CDs were lost or stolen in this process and ended up on the internet, which certainly pissed off Axl. But what's cool about it is if you listen to all these tracks and take the time, you're actually put in the place of these recording sessions. You feel like you are there. There's all sorts of various takes, different guitar parts, different volume levels, bass removed, bass added, drums removed, drums added. There's a lot of stuff. And one of the cherries in this whole collection is Going Down. Now, there's a lot of fans that really missed Izzy, and Tommy definitely took those reins, and you can hear it in this song. This song almost sounds like it could have been on the Lies EP or possibly Use Your Illusion. It's a very classic Guns N' Roses, and that's not what Chinese Democracy ended up being. Now, over time, fans begin to realize something familiar about Tommy in Guns N' Roses. Much like Izzy Stradlin, Tommy wasn't flashy. He was foundational. He brought a pro-rock sensibility, strong melodic instincts, tight, economical songwriting, and a grounding influence in a very experimental area. In many ways, Tommy became the Izzy-like backbone in the Chinese Democracy lineup, helping keep songs rooted while everything else expanded outward. Now, over the years, Going Down has surfaced through multiple leaks, each song adding to the mythology. One version features Tommy Stinson on lead vocals with no Axl Rose backing vocals, giving it a raw, almost side project feel closer to Bash and Pop. Another leaked version has Axl Rose providing the backing vocals and harmonics, subtly reinforcing the song and making it feel much more Guns N' Roses. These different versions suggest that this track was actively, at multiple occasions, worked on and was not just a throwaway demo, raising the question of how close it may have come to an official release. So, why has it never been released? Well, a famous few likely reasons, mostly the initials AR. Axl has famously high standards. The song is definitely a vocal spotlight on Tommy, just like the Izzy songs were for Izzy. And simply, it didn't fit the final narrative of Chinese democracy. Axl has repeatedly stated that there was enough material for multiple albums and sequels or remix albums, but that shifted over time. Chinese Democracy is one of those albums that really confuses and divides fans. But if you take the time and can find these songs, I think you'll agree there was an opportunity to appease those fans that Chinese Democracy turned off with its industrial and electronic sounds. There are songs that do harken back to classic Guns N' Roses vibes. There's also, admittedly, addictively cool songs and remixes done by Brain of many of the Chinese Democracy's tracks. And those tracks really are remixed. I mean, with samples, drum loops. They're almost hip hop feeling, but not too far removed. Now, the songs that Brain remixed, Shackler's Revenge, Better, If the World, and This I Love, are really on one extreme end. And Going Down is on the other extreme end. It's a much more classic Guns N' Roses sound with Tommy on the lead vocals. There's a version with Axl on the backing vocals, and they really are, when mixed together, an amazing song that is an earworm you will be humming for the rest of the week. I can guarantee it. Going Down was reportedly recorded during the mid to late Chinese Democracy sessions, somewhere in the early 2000s. The track has Tommy Stinson on lead vocals, although there are versions with Axl on vocals as well, backing vocals, and versions with Bumblefoot and Buckethead on guitar. So why hasn't it been released? There's a few theories. Axl Rose is famously meticulous and very selective. It may or may not have fit the sonic vision that became this way, Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy. So was it held back for future releases that just never happened? Possibly, because as I said, there were remix versions accredited to Brain from these Leak Locker sessions. So there was probably follow-up ideas. I've also heard rumors that it was planned to be a triple album release or 2 double album releases. We never got those. And we never got a remix album. So there have been leaks, legends, fan mythologies about this song and those sessions. But over the years, Going Down has become part of the GNR fan mythology that everyone loves to talk about. It's frequently mentioned alongside other unreleased tracks to be released further on down the line, like Atlas Shrugged, Perhaps, and State of Grace. While some songs from this era have leaked in rough or demo form, like the ones I found, Going Down is one of the charms and cherries of this collection that when you stumble across it, when you listen to it, it's an earworm. It's an earworm like those Izzy Stradlin songs Stood Out from the first album and the Use Your Illusions. Many of us attribute a lot of the success of Guns N' Roses to Izzy Stradlin, and he brought that rough Rolling Stones vibe to Guns N' Roses, 100%. All the members say so. But why it still matters is there's an influence that seems to have been picked up by Tommy Stinson when he joined this version of Guns N' Roses. It matters because it shows you what the Chinese Democracy sessions really were. They were almost a lost archive of Guns N' Roses music that could completely have reshaped how we view this band's evolution. For fans and collectors, unreleased tracks like these, they're pure gold. And in the vinyl reissue era, while nothing stays buried forever, the question is, will we ever hear this song officially? Now, do you think it should be released? I do. And I've found snippets of it, and you can find them too. Who knows? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you're into deep dive rock history, lost recordings, and vinyl culture, make sure to subscribe to the AV Room. Because sometimes the most interesting records are the ones you've never heard.